Why
Line is
not?
supplied at Amazon. Line is supplied at Amazon.
Oh,
Line
right.
is supplied at Amazon.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Oh, okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. So back when I had already decided to leave NCIX, but I hadn't actually, I think the way the timeline goes is that I hadn't actually told them that I was going to be leaving yet. I wanted to explore my options so that I would have some idea of how strong my negotiating position was going to be. Because my plan, I had already sought legal advice to determine whether or not the Linus Tech Tips channel could be argued belonged to me.
Right.
I was going to make the argument that it's in my name and therefore was treated at NCIX as sort of a personal project. I was going to make the argument that I did a lot of the work on it on my own time. I informed the lawyer that I was compensated for that time, but not at like an above minimum wage rate necessarily, because the amount that I was compensated per video was like, I think accounted for like maybe an hour and change of time, but a lot of the videos took much, much longer than that.
Yeah,
Plus,
if it wasn't significantly better than mine, then it it wasn't very good.
yeah. So basically, I gave a lawyer all this information. They went, no, I think with all that in mind, it's the intellectual property of NCIX. You have no real claim to make here. And I was like, okay, that's fair. I mean, it was worth finding out. So what I had decided was I wanted it, and I needed to figure out a way to what chips I could offer in return. And I thought that if it was as simple as, okay, well, you can either give it to me or I can go work for your competitor, they would give it to me. And the way that I saw it, because one of my ideas for surviving back then was that NCIX should revise their business model to be more like, actually very similar to what Amazon does with their drop points now. Or I forget what they're branded, where you just like have something shipped to like a Dropbox and
Like
you just go
the
pick it
local
up.
pickups. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
local pickups. I wanted NCIX to shift to a model where we had like these little tiny hole in the wall stores that were basically not a storefront at all. Like we could have a service section if we wanted to, because that's fairly lucrative, even in a small town. And then just kind of like a small warehouse in the back. And then we would only stock like the two most popular items from each category. So if someone really did want to come in and configure a custom computer, then you could configure a custom computer as long as it used Kingston RAM in this speed and one of two capacities, and like you know what I mean, like
It's like probably mostly just beneficial to the service center so that they have something to like throw in when they
pretty
need to do a
much.
hardware swap.
And then other than that, we would just have trucks that went back and forth across the country, so that every 2 to 3 days, one of the big warehouses would have a transfer going out to each one, and people across the country would be able to get items in just like a couple of days without paying for shipping, because we would just kind of absorb that as part of our cost of doing business. Apparently they're called Amazon lockers. So anyway, that was one of my ideas. NCIX didn't really seem to see Amazon as the big threat, which is hilarious to me now, because Amazon is a monster in PC hardware, even though their site is horrendous for finding it. And so I thought that one of the things that I could do to strengthen my negotiating position, and or just make sure that I was able to make money after I was no longer working at NCIX, if they didn't ultimately give me the channel, because I was going to leave no matter what, was to try to get a job at Amazon. And I knew from talking to people who had applied there that getting a job there was like notoriously difficult. There's like this whole long interview process, and it's like a bunch of interviews, and like they won't even look at you if you don't have certain credentials. And so I did find a job that I thought was right up my alley, and it was like a social media coordinator. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, I mean, I don't have the bachelor's degree that they say they want, but boy, do I ever have a fair bit of experience in social media, which, remember, guys, this was 8 years ago. This was before, every Zoomer and their dog had, a weird throwaway Instagram account where they repost memes with like 100,000 followers or whatever. Having social media, like proven social media success, was kind of a big deal. And so I had my Twitter account. I had these 2 YouTube channels that had significant followings, and I applied. And I mean, that's kind of the end of the story. Amazon had an opportunity to hire me and did not even reply to my application, presumably because I didn't have the right credentials, even though if they knew what the right credentials were for a social media coordinator, they would have recognized them on my resume. In fact, if you look at my LinkedIn,
I don't remember all the conversations from back then. There was a lot. If you didn't get the channel, what would you have done? Would you have started a new channel?
Right. So ultimately, what I told NCIX was that I would go to Memory Express, who I did have an offer from, or I would go move down south and I would go work at Newegg. And Newegg and Memory Express, for just sort of like emotional reasons, I think were a lot more effective anyway. Like, I don't think they would have understood that Amazon was the threat that it was.
Yeah.
And so ultimately we did get the channel. As for what I would have done if we didn't get the channel, oh man, I would have been okay. WD offered me a job a little while after with a team that I think ended up getting dissolved, so I don't know how long that would have lasted. But as for you guys, I don't know what the heck you and Ed would have done.
Yeah, Ed and I were kind of like suicide pacted on that plan at that point.
I think what we would have had to do is start the channel fresh, and we would have just had to eat a lot more macaroni and cheese.
Honestly, I don't necessarily think it would have been that bad.
The first, man, we had 200,000 subscribers when we started. And 200,000 subscribers back then was a lot more than it is now.
And I guess you probably wouldn't have been able to get away with like posting a video saying that you were going somewhere else. But I think a lot of people would have followed is all I'm really saying. Like even back then, like the community was so much smaller and so much more tight knit. Like you'd see the same people commenting on videos across the board because videos really honestly didn't get that many views back then.
That's true. And the forum would have helped us with that. But I think, if I recall correctly, when we started
like
the
it
forum,
definitely would have been harder, but
yeah, we wouldn't have had the domain even. Like we wouldn't have had LinusTechTips.com. We'd have had to completely rebrand. And remember too that YouTube's discoverability was not as good back then. Like nowadays, we can start a new channel, make a video, and the fact that it has my face in the thumbnail, all of a sudden, instead of getting 4 views, it's getting 40,000 views because the algorithm knows. So it just wasn't that sophisticated back then. I think it would have been really tough.
I think it would have been doable. I agree with the like we'd be, I don't remember exactly how you said it, eating macaroni or eating craft dinner or whatever longer, but I still think it would have been possible.
So if you guys want to see what my resume looked like that I sent to Amazon, it's basically my LinkedIn profile. The one thing that's new now is that I have founder Linus Media Group Inc. And
I don't even know what mine looks like. I haven't seen mine in so long.
Yeah, so this is great. About. I am a self-driven social media enthusiast with extensive experience and success on YouTube. In the past 7 years, I have built multiple channels that now total 2 million subscribers and 200 million views. Wow, Linus, that is, that's very impressive. Good job, young boy.
I'm actually inaccurate now. Rough. I saw someone posted a tweet the other day that ended up getting a lot of traction where they said they updated their Twitter bio before they updated their LinkedIn, and that should say a lot about like what the current like hiring and recruitment space looks like. And I'm like, to be honest, like I haven't heard the last time anyone cared about LinkedIn at all.
You know what? I don't know, because I get a lot of messages and stuff on LinkedIn from people that are like, wow, I had no idea how to get in touch with you. And I'm trying to get in touch with you here. And I'm like, what do you mean you have no idea how to get in touch with me? The email's literally on the About tab on the YouTube channel. Like, what are you talking about?
Maybe it's still really big with a certain demographic or something.
Boomers.
Yep. Because it was super popular around that time. Like that would have been 2012, 2013. And it was huge back then. Like,
I mean,
thought it was very
It's a
professional.
it's a big business now though. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. Oh man, I love my profile. I put like the least amount of effort possible into my Linus Media Group entry. Linus Media Group is committed to, what is this? Is committed to delivering fun, engaging social media and video marketing solutions. That's what I wrote 7 years and 10 months ago, and I have never touched it again.
Your NCIX entries are like so long and well written out. I feel like I remember you and Vaughn working on these.
No, I did this. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I actually did this. Oh, I must have contacted Amazon after I had told NCIX I was leaving then, because I remember working on this at work while I was just like checked out and had already told them that I was leaving, and my main job was just to like be there and answer questions for my replacements. So I didn't really have anything to do. So that must be the order of operations.
Scroll down, look at your publications section.
Publications?
Yeah.
What are publications?
Scroll down quite a bit. You have to get below education. You have to get all the way down to the bottom.
3 publications: Fast as Possible, Linus Tech Tips, and NCIX Tech Tips.
Look at the descriptions too, though.
Fast, informative videos about technology. YouTube video blog sponsored by NCIX, developed and hosted by yours truly. Flagship YouTube channel for NCIX.com, developed, administrated, and hosted by me. What a nerd. Why am I such a nerd?
So we both have just like flagrantly false information on our LinkedIn.
I love that I have one recommendation, one single recommendation on LinkedIn from Taryn. So for those of you who don't know who Taryn is, I totally get it. You know, who is that guy? So he works as director of sales at Corsair for North America, and he was my he was for the latter part of my NCIX career. He was like my boss, but then he was gone, and that was one of the reasons that I ultimately decided to leave, because he was sort of a voice of sanity in the chaos, and the fact that he was gone, I was like, oh, this sucks. So yeah, he was the one who was there for the roast, and I had wanted him there not because his public speaking was amazing as far as I knew. He did a great job though. I had wanted him there just because I wanted someone who knew me as a young professional, and I use the term professional very loosely. His